My wife texted, "I'm not coming home until you buy me a new SUV." So I quietly cut off every luxury she took for granted, until her own father begged me to take her back. The message arrived on a Wednesday morning, right as I sat in my downtown office, buried beneath a pile of quarterly reports. The familiar ping of my phone pulled me out of my concentration, and what followed next would forever change the way I viewed my marriage. The text was simple, sharp, and drenched in entitlement. "I'm not coming home until you buy me a new SUV." There was no greeting, no discussion, no compromise, just a demand. For a full minute, I stared at the screen, half expecting a follow-up message saying she was joking. But no, my wife meant every word. She had driven to her parents' house the night before after yet another argument about finances. Things had been tight lately, economic uncertainty, rising expenses, and my 12-hour workdays barely keeping everything afloat. I'd suggested we delay some non-essential purchases until things stabilized. But apparently, in her mind, a $70,000 luxury SUV with heated leather seats and a premium sound system wasn't non-essential. It was a need. The irony was painful. She sat in her childhood bedroom, likely surrounded by her old posters and trophies, while I worked myself to the bone trying to sustain the life she took for granted. I typed one word in response. Understood. Then I placed my phone face down on the desk and took a deep breath. If my wife wanted to play hardball, I could play too. Only I played with strategy, not emotion. She'd forgotten one crucial detail in her power move. While all our accounts were joint, I was the primary account holder on everything. The phone plan, streaming services, gym membership, credit cards, all of them. By lunch, I'd made my first call. The phone company was surprisingly helpful when I requested a downgrade on one of our lines. Her unlimited premium plan became the most basic option available. No more unlimited data. No more international calls. No more premium features. Just the bare minimum. Then came the streaming services: Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Spotify Premium, yoga app, meal delivery service, all gone. Each cancellation felt like removing a weight off my shoulders. Finally, I canceled her boutique gym membership, the one that cost more than a monthly car payment and existed mostly so she could post workout selfies. By evening, I sat alone in the peaceful silence of our home, eating pizza, watching free television, and enjoying a kind of quiet I hadn't felt in years. My phone, too, was quiet. Her downgraded plan meant no more constant notifications, no endless social media updates, no group chats. Just silence. The first crack in her composure came the next morning. A short, confused text appeared. "Why isn't my phone working properly?" I calmly replied, "I've been optimizing our monthly expenses, like you suggested." Technically true, though perhaps not in the way she intended. By day 2, the messages grew more desperate. She couldn't watch her shows, stream her music, or access her meditation app. I responded with gentle understanding, suggesting free alternatives or the local library. Then came the real meltdown, when she tried buying coffee with her friends and discovered her primary credit card was temporarily frozen for security review. Not canceled, just paused. Her backup card worked fine, but with a much lower limit, it exposed just how close she'd been living to the edge. That night, I sat in my study, researching divorce attorneys. Not because I was ready to file, but because I needed to understand my position. The consultation was eye-opening. Ironically, the prenup she'd insisted on years ago now worked in my favor, since my career had soared while hers had stalled. By Wednesday, the silence was deafening. No calls, no texts. I hoped she was finally ready to talk like an adult. Instead, her father called that evening. His tone was polite, too polite. After some small talk, he got to the point. His daughter was, in his words, struggling with the current situation. He suggested that marriage was about compromise. I asked him if holding a relationship hostage over a luxury vehicle qualified as compromise. The conversation tightened. He reminded me that his daughter was used to a certain standard of living. I reminded him that his daughter also grew up in his house, not paying her own bills. Finally, he asked what it would take to resolve the situation. I told him it wasn't about the SUV anymore. It was about the fact that his daughter believed she could manipulate me with ultimatums. That she'd rather run home than talk like a partner. What did I want from her? He asked. I wanted an apology. Acknowledgement. A real conversation about our finances. Partnership, not a dictatorship. He promised he'd talk to her. The next morning, I got a call from her mother. Something that had never happened before. She sounded embarrassed. She admitted they'd enabled their daughter's behavior for years, always taking her side, always excusing the entitlement. She said my wife had been crying for 2 days, not over the SUV, but because she feared the marriage might be crumbling. She'd finally realized I might not give in this time. That afternoon, my wife finally called. Not texted, called. Her voice was small, trembling. She asked if I hated her. I told her I didn't, but I was deeply disappointed. She asked if I planned to divorce her. I said I hoped not, but her ultimatum forced me to consider it. She asked about the services I'd canceled. I told her that would depend on whether she was ready for an honest conversation. We talked for 2 hours. She cried. I stayed calm. She apologized tentatively, half regret, half realization. She promised to come home if I restored her phone plan and credit card. I said that wasn't how this worked. She should come home because she wanted to fix things, not because I'd met her demands. After a long silence, she asked what she needed to do. By Friday evening, she came home. No dramatic reunion, just quiet footsteps, an overnight bag, and a nervous smile. She apologized again, more sincerely this time, admitted running to her parents was childish, admitted the SUV demand was wrong. I told her trust would take time. The phone plan could be restored immediately, but the cards and subscriptions would return gradually as we rebuilt our foundation. That weekend, we finally had the conversations we should have had months ago. I showed her the budget, the debts, the savings. She was stunned. For the first time, she saw how tight things really were. The SUV she'd wanted so badly would have meant sacrificing our future. And for the first time, she understood why I'd said no. Over the next 2 weeks, a strange but beautiful transformation began. My wife took charge of grocery shopping and utilities, wanting to understand how our money was spent. The first time she returned from the store, eyes wide at the total, I knew reality had hit. Slowly, her habits began to change. She compared prices, looked for sales, even bought store brands, a concept that once would have been beneath her. I restored some of her subscriptions, but with a twist: shared accounts, fewer luxuries, more awareness. The boutique gym was replaced with a local one that cost a fraction of the price. She didn't complain. Instead, she smiled and said it felt more real. The true test came when her friends invited her on an expensive spa weekend. The old her would have booked it instantly, but this time she checked the budget first. When we realized it didn't fit, she suggested a cheaper alternative to her friends. I sat there, speechless. Even her parents noticed the shift. Her father called, apologizing for interfering. Her mother began sharing recipes and budget tips, almost proud of the change they saw in their daughter. Marriage counseling helped too. We learned how to talk without blaming, listen without interrupting, and plan without ultimatums. My wife understood that her demands had felt like emotional blackmail, and I learned to express my frustrations before they boiled over. A month after the infamous SUV ultimatum, she brought up the topic again, but this time with grace. Instead of demanding, she'd done research on affordable models, certified pre-owned options, even questioned whether we needed a second car at all. She'd calculated that selling her current vehicle and using public transport might save us money. I was floored. This was a woman who'd once equated value with price tag, now talking about efficiency and long-term stability. We decided to keep her current car. It was reliable, paid off, and perfectly fine. But her research became the blueprint for our future financial planning. For the first time, we were truly a team. 3 months later, we paid off 2 credit cards and built a comfortable emergency fund. My wife discovered she actually enjoyed budgeting, treating it like a puzzle to solve. Ironically, learning to live with less had given us more freedom than ever before. Her friends noticed too. Some even asked her for budgeting advice. The woman who once demanded a $70,000 SUV was now teaching others how to save. She'd become what I half-jokingly called a reformed spender. Looking back, that text, the one that started it all, turned out to be a blessing in disguise. It forced us to address the cracks in our relationship that money had merely exposed. My actions might have been harsh, but they were necessary. Boundaries needed to be drawn. Respect needed to be reclaimed. It was never really about the SUV. It was about partnership, understanding, balance. Now, when my wife texts me, it's usually to ask if I need anything from the store or to share a great deal she found online. The SUV? Still just a future possibility. But this time, it's our possibility, not her demand. Like and subscribe for more stories of love, lessons, and the kind of revenge that teaches respect instead of spite.